What's up, everybody out there in YouTube land? Wrath2501 here. Alright guys, time for the Warhammer part of Double Feature Friday. This is, what were the Xeno races doing during the Horus Heresy? This is by Major Kill. And this is actually an interesting question. What were they doing? You know, if they hated humanity so much. And, you know, the Empire, the Imperium was pretty much an upstart, you know, basically steamrolling everything at the time. Anyway, let's see what Major Kill's got for us, and go.
Today we'll go over what each of the main Xeno races and factions were up to
Another
during
advertisement
the
cut
Horus Heresy, talking about what impacts they had on the Heresy, or why they had no impact at all. Let's get into it.
Because nobody liked them! When he brings out the sword, why does it have the pan
because they are
sound
my
from
mini army
TF2?
of choice, and also, you know, the Elder were arguably the most active Xeno race during the Horus Heresy. However, their involvement was complicated and very behind the scenes. It was also only the Craft Welders who actually gave a shit. The Dark Elder happily sat in their unreachable realm in the Webway, whilst the Exodites just prayed to their dead gods that people would just leave them the fuck alone. I'm sure the Dark Elder raids might have increased a bit since the Imperium was preoccupied with killing itself, but nothing stands out in the lore to me. The Craft Welders, however, were a bit more active, and by Craft Worlds I mean Eldrad, because that dude is involved in literally everything. He was one of the few people to accurately foresee the Horus Heresy, hence he tried to meddle with it. He is quite the meddler. At first he's running around like a headless chicken doing random contradictory stuff, but then he decides to help the Imperium. He goes to Fulgrim, who was seen to be one of the less xenophobic Primarchs, to warn him of Horus's betrayal. This went really poorly, as Fulgrim had already been corrupted by the Layer Blade at this point. Hence Fulgrim and Eldrad's forces fought. Eldrad lost, losing an avatar of Cain, a Wraith Lord, and his faith in humanity all in one fight. Jeez. On the other side of the coin, there was a group of Eldar who were actively trying to help Horus. These Eldar were the members of the Cabal, a secret organization of very powerful Xenos that included stuff like Slann. They could also create Demi-Perpetuals. Now this might seem contradictory, but they actually hate chaos. However, they came up with two future predictions. One was the victory of the Imperium, causing the slow but inevitable decay and corruption of the galaxy by chaos. The other was the victory of Horus, which would set the galaxy on fire and drive mankind and chaos to extinction. However, that would save the other Xeno races in the galaxy. By showing these visions to Alfarius, they were actually able to get him to turn traitor and join Horus, as Alfarius believed that the Emperor would have wanted him to choose the path that destroyed chaos, even though that logic is fucking retarded.
Yeah,
however, these visions were very flawed, as the future of 40k is never set in stone. This prophecy has already been declared to be broken and unreliable, with characters such as Gilliman returning, which actually broke everyone's prophecies. If the Alpha Legion had remained totally loyalist, then it's likely the Emperor wouldn't be a shriveled up sausage left out in the sun. So yeah, fuck the Cabal. Anyway, a big thing that Eldrad was doing during the Heresy was thwarting the Cabal, as the Cabal was doing other shit to try help Horus, such as killing Vulcan. Eldrad was able to attack the Cabal, killing all of them, because he's a boss, and then he helped Vulcan get back to Terra. This is all pretty big stuff, but not only just saving Vulcan, but helping him get back to Terra to perform.
So then Vulcan made a very special pointy-ear friendly
I bet Vulcan is feeling pretty guilty about the whole barbecued Eldar child situation. The real reason why it was literally only Eldrad trying to do stuff was because the writers benched Xenos really hard during the Heresy. But the in-law reason is that the Craft Welders despise humanity and were happy to let them kill each other. After all, Ferrus massacred some Exodites, Lorgar destroyed a Craft World after they invited him on board and taught him their language, and at least a couple other Craft Worlds and Maiden Worlds were destroyed by the Imperium during the Great Crusade.
Jeez,
so they
what a
didn't
bunch of
exactly
assholes.
feel obliged to help the Emperor. What about the Orcs? They were very present during the Great Crusade, probably the most common enemy of the Imperium. Why did they seemingly vanish when all the wars got spicy? Well, that's because there was next to no Orcs still alive. The Great Crusade has genocided the ever-living tits out of the fungal menace. Orc worlds were purged, Wars crumped, and war bosses annihilated. When the Orcs gathered on Ullanor for their big counterattack, the Emperor's counterattack saw the massacre of the largest Orc army still in existence. Considering this army only numbered a few million Orcs, thanks to GW's consistent lack of number comprehension, that means that there was fuck all Orcs around. So they were pretty much all just dead during the Heresy, which is why they weren't around. It was only after a few thousand years that Orc spores could propagate enough to replenish the Orc race and become a threat to the Imperium once again. What about the Tau? What were those noseless blue simps up to?
Weren't they not even really around at all?
Ooga boogering each other's sphincters. I don't know, I wasn't there. The Tau are a relatively new race on the galactic stage. I mean, they're a dreadnoughts older than their entire civilization. A Mars explorer fleet found the Tau during the 35th millennium, and they had only just mastered fire. They were literally Stone Age. So take 5,000 years off that, and yeah, holy shit. The Tau were pre-Stone Age during the Horus Heresy.
They probably hadn't even evolved yet.
So completely unsurprisingly, they had absolutely no effect on the Heresy, or literally anything except the fleas on their mates' backs for the next few thousand years.
Dude.
The Necrons are an interesting one. Sure, we could all say they did nothing and they were all asleep, but that wouldn't be entirely correct. Not all Necrons were asleep during the Heresy.
The Nameless King, the Silent King,
early, including our boy Trizin the Infinite. Trizin found humanity incredibly boring, so he mostly ignored them during the Great Crusade. However, the Horus Heresy was super fun for him. He found the tales of betrayal, regret, brother versus brother, father versus sons to be incredibly gripping and compelling stuff.
Okay.
So he did what any historian worth his mettle would do. Started bunny hopping to various different Horus Heresy battle zones and then kidnapping some of the warriors mid-battle. He would then set up an exhibit that was an accurate recreation of the battle in his planet-sized museum before putting those kidnapped Astartes in it. Trapped in stasis, of course. The exhibit would not last long if they weren't. He did this for the Istvan Dropsite Massacre and a few others. The Heresy ignited Trizin's interest in
creepy-ass
humanity,
collector.
as since then he's been kidnapping important figures and stealing important shit from them. For example, he has Inquisitors as well as Lord Castellan Creed in his exhibit, not to mention a shoulder pauldron of every single Loyalist chapter, as well as a fucking custodian. This could imply that he has infiltrated every Loyalist chapter.
Doesn't he also have
and
one of
maybe
the
even Imperial Palace itself
Krogs
over the last
too?
10,000 years? During the fall of Cadia, Trizin wanted to be a hero, so he arrived to help the Loyalists. To aid them, he led out a force of Loyalist Marines and one of his custodi from the Heresy era. That would have been a very surreal experience. So whilst the Necrons as a species didn't do a whole lot, Trizin carried the flag for them, much in the same way that Eldrad did for the Space Elves. The Tyranids weren't present during the Heresy, as they hadn't even arrived in the galaxy by that point. It would be about 10,000 years later that the Tyranids would start popping up.
They were on
and
their way.
Everyone's shit. However, that doesn't mean the Tyranids aren't connected to the Heresy. See, the space bugs of death didn't just trip over themselves and end up in the Milky Way. They only travel to galaxies with sentient life, as sentient life is the food source they crave. As such, if they waste time
all
going
life,
to a
dude.
galaxy
They strip
only to
planet
find it
bare of
empty
all life.
they will starve and die. So how did they know the Milky Way was primed and ready for consumption? During the Heresy, the Loyalists discovered the Pharos device, which was like a mini Astronomicon, most likely of Necron origin. They used this device to pretty much win the Heresy, saving numerous loyal Primarchs and guiding Loyalist legions to safety. However, when the traitors attacked it to try use it for their own devices, it was overloaded and blown up, momentarily creating an extremely bright beacon in the warp. This beacon is what alerted the Tyranids to the Milky Way. There was no natural occurrence that could have caused such a large blimp in the warp. It could only have been done by a powerful sentient species. As such, the Horus Heresy is entirely to blame for the Tyranids' arrival. If the Tyranids do end up eating everyone, which I doubt, but you know, who knows, after all the end times exist, then it would be the Horus Heresy that would have caused this. The other minor Xeno races had little to no impact. Stuff like the Demiurge and Kroot were still in their primitive forms. Others like the Leia and the Kinibrach had been mostly genocided during the Great Crusade, so they couldn't really do a whole lot, whilst others, like the Rakghoul, would remain hidden to the Imperium for thousands more years. So overall, Xenos had a very minor impact on the Heresy, with most of them twiddling their thumbs, sleeping, or just pulling a massive CBF. A fair critique of the Heresy was the fact that the Xenos were so sidelined, and it ended up just being a massive Space Marine wankfest, which I think is just the writers being so in the zone of Primarchs and Space Marines, but overall it's
called bad
complaint.
writing, dude.
And with recent lore, like the Infinite and the Divine, stating some Xenos were active and even using the Heresy as a bit of a recreational activity, we can see that GW is trying to make them included without creating a bunch of canon conflicts. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then...
canon. Okay. So he's shilling his stuff right here at the end too, but I can't show it because he's not sponsoring this video. Anyway, so what the Xenos, that's interesting what the Xenos are doing, and that was interesting what he said about the orcs being basically wiped out. I mean, now they're the most populous race in all of 40k, you know, of all the sentient races, they're the most populous. They technically even outnumber the Tyranids, and even the Tyranids themselves have had a hard time wiping them out on several of the planets. So yeah, that's impressive though, that they were able to nearly make the orcs extinct. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. I do like hearing about some of the more obscure stuff about Warhammer, though I really wish they'd get on and get some character development there with the story. That's why I like text-to-speech, because it showed character development amongst the major characters instead of some side character who's going to be gone in like 100 years, because, what happens with the main characters occurs over thousands, but, there you go. Anyway, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, guys. Definitely click on the link to the original down in the description if you enjoyed this. Like the original and subscribe to Major Kill if you haven't. And I will see you guys next time. Tune in every day for new content. Bye-bye.